The room was quiet, except for the hum of the air conditioner and the faint clinking of coffee mugs. It wasn't a courtroom or a church, it was just a small community center in downtown Chicago. Folding chairs lined up in a circle, a pot of coffee sitting on a folding table, and a whiteboard that read in marker, "Survivors Circle Thursday, 7 p.m." 7 people sat there that evening, each carrying the kind of silence that words can't easily break. There was Sarah, who once lived in a room with no windows. Grace, who wrote letters to her younger self. Lydia, who was told she was crazy until she stopped believing it. And a few others, faces worn but strong, eyes full of stories too heavy for casual conversation. At the center of the circle sat Maya, 34, a counselor who'd once been a victim herself. She started this group 3 years ago after surviving a decade-long abusive marriage. To her, every meeting wasn't just therapy, it was rebellion. Because silence had almost killed her once, and she wasn't going to let it kill anyone else. Maya looked around the room, her voice calm but steady. "Let's start tonight with something new," she said. "I want you to tell the person sitting next to you one thing you're proud of, something you thought you'd never do again." The group exchanged uneasy glances, then soft smiles. Sarah spoke first. Her voice was still fragile, but it didn't shake as much as it used to. "I took a walk in my neighborhood," she said quietly. "No fear, just the sun on my face. For years, even that felt dangerous." Grace nodded, eyes glistening. "I published my first essay about survival. I didn't use my real name, but it's out there. My words are out there." Maya smiled gently. "That's beautiful, Grace." Lydia, who'd spent years doubting her sanity because of her manipulative ex, said softly, "I got my driver's license back. He used to tell me I'd kill someone if I drove, but last week, I took a road trip alone. Music blasting, windows down, the room filled with quiet laughter, the kind that sounds like exhaling after years of holding your breath. After everyone shared, Maya stood and poured herself another cup of coffee. "I want to play you something," she said, connecting her phone to a small speaker. Soft piano chords began to play a song called "The Sound of Breaking Chains." It was written by another survivor who'd once attended this group but had since moved away. The melody was simple, but it felt like it carried the weight of every story in that room. "You can lock a door, but not a soul. You can break a heart, but it learns to grow." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The song wasn't sad, it was freedom turned into sound. Maya watched them quietly, remembering her own journey, the night she ran barefoot with her daughter in her arms, the years of therapy, the nightmares that still came sometimes. But tonight wasn't about pain. It was about what came after. When the song ended, Maya said, "I want you all to write something. One line, just one that you'd tell someone still trapped." The room went silent. Then pens began to scratch against paper. Sarah wrote, "You are not crazy. You are not alone." Grace wrote, "Your life is still yours, even if he tried to take it." Lydia wrote, "The door isn't locked forever." Maya gathered the papers and pinned them to the corkboard on the wall. Dozens of other notes were already there, messages from past survivors who'd sat in those same chairs. Together, they formed a collage of pain, courage, and rebirth. "You're stronger than you think. He doesn't get the last word. Freedom is waiting." Maya looked at the board for a long time. It wasn't art. It was a monument to every woman and man who'd found their voice after years of silence. After the meeting ended, Sarah lingered behind. "Do you ever stop hearing it?" she asked softly. "Hearing what?" Maya said. Sarah hesitated. "The voice in your head." "His voice." Maya smiled sadly. "No," she said, "but it gets quieter. And one day, it stops mattering." Outside, the city lights glowed against the night sky. Sarah stood at the bus stop, hands in her pockets, watching people hurry past, strangers lost in their own stories. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel weak. She felt alive. At home, she took out her phone and opened the Notes app. She began typing, not a text, not a journal entry, but a message to someone she'd never met. "If you're reading this and you're scared to leave, I was you. I thought no one would believe me. I thought I was too broken to start over. But I did. And you can too." She posted it anonymously on a survivor forum, then closed her phone. Across the city, in another apartment, a young woman sat crying quietly as she read that post. She didn't know Sarah. She didn't know her story. But she felt the truth in her words, the sound of a chain breaking. Days later, Sarah returned to the community center. There was a new note on the corkboard. "I'm leaving tonight. Thank you for showing me it's possible." She stared at it for a long moment. Then she smiled. Maya walked in behind her and asked softly, "New one?" Sarah nodded. "Yeah," she said, "and it sounds like another chain just broke." The two women stood there in silence, looking at the wall filled with hundreds of messages, voices once silenced, now echoing together in quiet defiance. And in that room, that small, ordinary room filled with extraordinary courage, you could almost hear it, the sound of breaking chains.